The Knit and Natter Club by Gillian, Grinham. Monty keeps warm. Oh no, not more rain, sighed Grandma, emptying the washing machine. I was hoping to hang out those sheets. Bother, said Archie, his nose to the window in the conservatory. Now we can't go and watch the crab boats coming in. Where's your fighting spirit? What's a drop of rain? Run, get your anorak. If we hurry, we'll be in time. And Grandad went to put his boots on from the hall cupboard. Grandma hurried after him. George, you can't take the boy out in this rain. He's just recovering from chicken pox. We're supposed to be looking after him, not making him ill. Don't be daft, Rose. No good keeping him in cotton wool. The boy's tough as old boots. Quite recovered now. Do him good to get out in the fresh air. Besides, as he grabbed his cap and scarf, we can shelter in the Gap Cafe. Dave does a mean bacon butty. George, I gave you a hearty, nourishing breakfast, and anyway, you had a bacon sandwich of the funky mackerel on Tuesday. By the way, she added, tying the scarf carefully round his neck, you asked Dave to sort out that scarf I knitted him. I didn't see him wear it last winter, and I did it in the Norwich City yellow and green stripes specially. If I remember. Bye, Rose. Crab for tea, perhaps? And the two set off through the rain. Lincat, the little blue and white crab boat, was being hauled up the slipway by a battered Land Rover as they arrived. A hand waved through the cab window. Hope Matt's had a decent haul today. Grandad peered at the crates stacked in the hold. Archie, meantime, was staring through the rain at the vast expanse of the grey North Sea. At first he looked puzzled, and then he nodded and smiled. Ah, said Grandad, you've spotted them. Those little coloured flags. Not easy to see from the land, different when you're out there. I think the red flags are Matt's. And Grandad moved across to the Lincat, which was being gently manoeuvred onto the concrete ledge just below the Gap Cafe. He patted the weather-beaten wood. She's looking good, Matt. You worked hard on her. Not just me. Matt set the restraining blocks in position and unlocked the tow bar. Everyone helped. Painting, replacing rotten boards, and Dave and Kate levelled this new pitch for the old girl. She's ready for whatever the storms this winter can throw at her. Grandad tapped Archie on the shoulder. Look over there, and he pointed across the slipway. See the tip of that pole sticking out of that mound? That's where Lincat stood last year. That pole's 6 foot, would you believe? Archie stared through the rain at the mass of earth, rocks and pebbles, and then up at the gaping void and the overhanging cliff. Landslide, that's what it was, explained Grandad. Happened all along the coast in the terrible storms last winter. Hey, you'd better hurry into the Gap Cafe, he added, as the rain got heavier. Grandma'll give me a roasting if you catch a cold. I'll stay and help young Matt. Ben's mother, Kate, greeted Archie at the cafe. It felt warm and cosy inside, and there was an inviting smell of bacon coming from the kitchen. In the corner, Archie spotted a dog basket. Its occupant, a gingery mongrel, looked up and pricked his ears at Archie's arrival. Kate laughed. Monty's waiting for his favourite person. Ah, here he comes. Just watch him. Matt's the only person he'll leave his warm basket for. Sure enough, as the fisherman, carrying a heavy crate, strode into the room, Monty, giving a small bark, trotted over to greet him, ginger tail wagging furiously. Ah, how's my hero today? Asked Matt, patting the grizzled head. For the first time, Archie caught a glimpse of Monty's collar. In bold letters on the red leather was printed Hero. Yes, said Kate, you are in the presence of a local celebrity, Archie. George, tell your grandson the story while I fetch you all your bacon butties. Pop the crate in the back, will you, Matt? Dave will settle up later. Soon the three of them were settled at the table nearest Monty's basket. Something in the basket caught Archie's attention. Something knitted. Something in yellow and green stripes. Archie looked at Grandad. Oh no, that's the end of the story, young man. I must start at the beginning. It was the week of those awful storms last winter. And Grandad set the scene, describing how the winds, rain and extremely high tides lashed the coast, causing a lot of damage. Archie remembered the pictures he'd seen on the TV and how he'd learnt in his geography lessons about the devastating effects of cliff erosion. Well, one Friday it was particularly bad. None of the fishermen had been out all week, their boats idle and empty on the slipways. The wind and rain increased, but everyone was safe inside, or so we thought. Ah, now you can continue the tale, he said, as Kate arrived with their food. You were checking on the shutters, weren't you, that afternoon? Kate nodded. The winds were so strong we were worried some of the shutters might have come loose, so Dave drove over here with his toolbox and I let Monty out for a brief loo break. Hearing his name, Monty perked his ears. Mike finished checking the doors and windows and we were ready to go, but no Monty. I called and called, and then everybody heard him barking. We were so cross. There we were, wet and cold, in an increasingly fierce storm, and Monty decided to have a game. But where was he? Archie asked. At first, we couldn't see him, but following the barks, we saw him at the top of the cliff. She pointed out of the window. We were furious and yelled at him, but he wouldn't move, even when we got close to him. I became frightened. She shivered at the thought. He was trembling and barking in a high-pitched way and staring down. As we got nearer, we saw that a huge chunk of the cliff had fallen down right on top of the Lincat. All we could see was earth and rocks. At that point, Dave, who'd been carrying in the empty crate, took up the story. Never moved so fast, because although no fisherman's been out that week, something was freaking out that dog. He gave Monty a pat. So I ran to the car, drove to the top of the road for a signal and rang for help. How long did it take the fireman to dig him out? 2, 3 hours? Seemed more like 6 at the time, said Kate. And all that time, despite our efforts, we couldn't budge that dog. He stood looking down, now and then whimpering, and waited. But who was? Archie was puzzled. Matt smiled at him. You're looking at him. Stupidest thing I ever did. But I was worried about the Lincat in that weather, so I cycled down to check her over. It was while I was in the hold that the landslip occurred. 1 minute I was counting crates, the next I was underneath them, covered in mud and rocks. Luckily, my head was wedged under a board so I could breathe. Just. But how on earth did Monty know you were there? Archie was amazed. Perhaps there's such a thing as a dog's sixth sense, said Kate. But I rather think he spotted what we failed to see. Matt's bike wheel sticking out of the mud. So that's why Monty's a hero, said Grandad. If he hadn't kept barking, no one would have known that anything was wrong. A few more hours, well, everyone was silent for a few moments. Matt rose from the table and moved to the empty crate, patting Monty on the way. Just a few cuts and bruises and some dents in Lincat, but we're both as good as new. But you daft mutt, they said you shivered for days. Dave nodded. Trouble was, he wouldn't move until Matt was out of the landslip and into the ambulance. I didn't know how to keep him warm, so I wrapped my scarf round him. Rosie's Christmas present. Archie looked across at the dog basket. Yes, that's it. Won't let anyone take it now, so it stays in Monty's in his bed. At that, Monty padded back to the basket, settled down, and went to sleep. He's had enough admiration for one day, and we'd best be off. Rose will be wondering where we are, said Grandad. Having paid Matt for the crabs, Dave went back to the kitchen, calling out as he went, I'll dress 3 of these chaps now and drop them by later, George. Archie said nothing on the way back. It was one thing to learn about erosion in class, but quite another to hear firsthand of the destructive power of wind and rain. As they approached Killigrew, he asked, Does Grandma know about the scarf? Grandad laughed. Of course she does, young man. Your grandma doesn't miss a thing. Sure enough, that evening, while Grandad read his paper and Archie did the jigsaw, Grandma looked up from her knitting and said, The little ginger hero is still snug and warm on his striped yellow and green blanket, is he?